श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् Swagatam Mitrani. Today we shall discuss what the Maheshwara Sutras are and analyze, delve deep into some of their nuances. Why are the Varnas arranged in the seemingly arbitrary fashion within these 14 sutras, and what are the additions and deletions present here? First of all, now how many sutras are there? There are Chaturdasha, 14 sutras. Now these are formulae which give us useful tactics to represent a set of letters with gesture acronym. Now, as was discussed in the previous video, the use of Maheshwara Sutras is seen in his rule book, the Ashtadhyayi, where he wants to use certain varnas which all share a similarity in the game of Sanskritam which was being played, which is still being played now. So in the language of Sanskritam, there have been many extant rule books, which is Vyakaranas. The rishis themselves probably did follow some rule book of grammar in Sanskritam while expressing their thoughts. But as far as Panini is concerned, he does refer to a few previous authors of rule books, like of grammar books, as he did. But whether or not they had to face this problem is still unknown because their texts are not available today. And so this game of Sanskritam conversation was going on in people. Just as a child does not ask for a rule book, he just learns. He does not learn the grammar first as soon as he is born. His mother does not teach him grammar, and then he starts to speak with the correct sentences as is. First of all, he starts mumbling something, and then slowly he begins to grasp the language. Similarly, probably now this is my hypothesis, that Sanskritam was going on as with the status of a mother language from the age-old times of the Rishi and the Rishikas through the Vedas, etc. However, people would just speak it because, and according to my hypothesis, there was only one language and some other tribal languages here and there. But the most common language then was Sanskritam, just as English is now today. And through that, people felt the need, the scholarly mind, the intellectual people wanted to find out what the rules of grammar could be. That these rishis, these poets, these people, even the common people, they're just speaking just as is. But what are the rules of this game? So what is going on? Probably people thought that way, but I don't. Although this is my hypothesis, I don't like the hypothesis because I want to believe that Sanskritam started out with a set of rules themselves by the founding, whoever that was, whether it was a father or a mother or a god or etc. Anything else. I want to believe at least that there was a person who founded the language from the beginning, whenever that was. Although it would be contradicting science and the material science as is today, I want to at least believe that there was a set of rules from which the language emerged. But I don't think so. This hypothesis has any support. But however, this going with my hypothesis that it was going on as a game, and later the grammarians found the need to put it down and systematize it. The Panini and others, that was the age of the grammar, the Vyakaranam. Therefore, he wanted to write down a set of rules to capture the game. He wanted to write down a book which captured the rules of the game of Sanskritam, of how words were being formed, how they were used, how do they relate to their meanings, etc. And he wanted to make his book concise. Therefore, he found that there was a way of making it concise, although the language itself was very vast, and people seem to create words on their own. But how are they created? He wanted to know. Therefore, he found out these 14 rules by going through whatever Vedic literature or the other Mahabharata, Itihasa, Purana, etc., which was there then. He went through all of it, and probably he could make out some general rules which were going on. Just like when you keep playing chess for a long time, and a person who doesn't even know it, he just keeps observing, he can make a few deductions from the rules. He can make a guess as to how the queen should move, probably how the elephant is the easiest one which he can figure out, how the elephant moves, etc., the rock moves, etc. Therefore, Panini wanted it to be concise, and he fell upon this idea, hit upon this idea. A e un rilek eong ayo chayavarat lan nyamaganadan jaban ghadash jabagadash kapashata chatato kapashishasar hal. Using these 14 rules, he could make acronyms, which is the essence of Maheshwara Sutra, and those acronyms are called Pratyahara. Pratyahara. Where is that? Here. Pratyaharas like ach. You see here, ach at the end, ach. Now, ach, what does it mean? It means it begins at a and goes wherever cha is. Where is cha? Find out cha. Cha. Here's cha. So you say ach means all those letters which begin at a and end at cha, which means a, e, un, rilek, eong, ayo. That's it. Now, so you would make an observation right now and point out that you're not including the na, ka, nga, these vyanjanas. Why is that? Of course, that's a good question. That's the first observation that you do. And now here begin the nuances, some of the nuances, not all of them, because it would take a long time to do that, and a lot of research behind it as well. In fact, people have actually written papers on how Panini's logic and grammar can be useful in philosophy based on his logic and his scheme of writing it and deduction, and also for languages such as machine learning and machine languages, how they can improve their codes, etc. So in fact, when so much of research has been done, it would be wrong on my part to say that I'm going to cover all of the nuances right now, but I'll do as far as I can, and so much as people can understand. Now, first of all, the 14 sutras are these tactics, as I said, to make some acronyms. What are those acronyms? How are they made? We shall see soon. So now, these Maheshwara Sutra, penned down by Panini, comprises of two sections. One is the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 lines. These are called the sutras. The 1, 2, 3, 4 are the a, e, un, rilek, eong, ayouch. These are the sutras, which form the swara section. The swaras. A, E, U, R, L, A, O, I, O. These are the 4 plus 5, 9 swaras. And then the Ha to La, which is Hal. These form the second section, which is the Vyanjana. You can see all these are Vyanjanas here. Right. So the Ach is one set, and then the Hal is the second set that we can consider. Now let us go through what Pratyahara means. What is a Pratyahara? Pratyahara, Prati Ahara. Ahara is to bring back, Prati is towards yourself. It is like a machine which brings you back, which outputs the required information, which retrieves back. Is called Pratyahara. So what does it retrieve back? So when you put the code Ach and you run it on the machine on these 14 sutras, it retrieves you these swaras, a, e, u, r, l, a, o, I, o. That's it. So it's as though it's a machine, the Paninian machine, the Maheshwara Sutra machine, whose input is the Pratyahara, which retrieves back the set of letters which are encompassed by the first and the last letters, Ach in that A and Cha. All of these fall within the A and the Cha. And then Now, when you see the sutras, you would question, how come there are only 9 swaras? What about a, e, u, r, all of that? Where have they gone? Why has Panini swallowed it? That's because he wanted, again, he wanted brevity in brevity. So he wanted to make them even more concise, and hence he wanted to eliminate those dirgha swaras because they can be understood with a itself. So when he says a, it means all the three forms of the hraswa, dirgha, and the pluta, the short, long, and the super long. Super long it's also. So all of them get considered. That is how he made his. He began his Maheshwara Sutra. A, E, O. Similarly with E also. E means E, E, E. All the three are understood here. And then the Vyanjanas. So now the Vyanjana at the end of each line, which was just pointed out, that na, ka are being left out. That's right. Now these Vyanjanas at the end of these sutras are garbage. Of course, they are garbage. They are to be thrown away, not as is, but after you input the pratyahara. For making the pratyahara, you would require these half dead consonants of this na. They have no other special meaning, but they're just there to end a line. One is to end a line and show that with the halanta, the anta of the line has happened. The end of a line is shown through these vyanjanas. And also, when you are using a pratyahara, you would have to say from the beginning of whatever you want to start at. If you want to say och, if you want to begin at o and include o, I, o as your set of letters that you want to discuss, then you have to say o, I, o, and you don't end there. You have to end it with ch. You have to say och, och, meaning everything from o to the dead consonant ch. O, a, o, I, o. That's it. Similarly with lam, let's try lam. How would lam be? It would mean la, and you have to not consider this because this is garbage. It is not for, it has no meaning, no significance in the sutra itself as its content. It is just there as a full stop. So la, nya, ma, nga, na, na. That's it. So all of that would be encompassed in lam. Should ma be considered? Of course not, because it's also garbage. It's just used to make an acronym. But the la is to be considered because that's the beginning letter. It is not a halanta as you see here. Now this is the Purna Akshara, which begs this third question, which is, you say all of this is the Vyanjana section, but why is it having a also there? Right, you are right. All of these have a in them, and as we were discussing from the beginning of the video, because it is hard to pronounce a Vyanjana by itself, let alone pronouncing 5 Vyanjanas without a vowel, Panini had to use in them for clearer pronunciation. And you know that Panini's time is the time of oral tradition, where everything were communicated and transferred orally. And so clear pronunciation was everything for them. Therefore, he had to devise rules and devise this convention where he had to put a for the Vyanjanas, although the Vyanjana itself was to be considered, the pure Vyanjana form itself. But for clear pronunciation, he had to use that a. But that doesn't mean that these na are also to be considered. I'm again repeating, these na are not to be considered. These dead consonants are, although being pure consonants, they are to be disposed away. They are dead. They are garbage. Then that is the third rule. Then the fourth one is that you would notice that we have pronounced her twice. See here in the 5th one and then in the 14th one, you have her twice. And here it is not a dead consonant also. So you can't throw it away. Therefore, why is that? Now that will be discussed in the next video. You have to wait till there. No, that does also have a reason. It is not that Panini was drunk on something that he had to put in. He made a mistake there of not noticing having put her twice. Okay, so now what is the order that he has followed in every line itself? Why didn't he say o eng? Why did he say a ong? Why did he not say au aich? Why did he write Yavarat and not Yaravat, as is commonly said in the first Vyavastha. We say Yaralava, not Yavarala. Why is that? Now all of them have very good reasons, strong, convincing reasons. What are they? Let's discuss them. First of all, why the first line, which is a e un, which is un, the short form for a e u is un. From the table here, see, a is the beginning, na is the dead consonant, you have to end there. A e u, everything from a to na is a e u, including a. That is there. So the dirgha forms are left out for brevity, as we have already discussed. Now these three, why did it come first? Is because the swaras are the independent parts of Varna, and of them the primary sound is a. Even a dumb person can pronounce it. A cow can pronounce it. A dog can do that. You shout in pain. That is, you have the least effort to pronounce and that is why it is called the eldest son of the Om. The of all the offsprings, is the eldest one. And then E and U. E and U, why does it occur that way? Is because one, first reason is because E is more popular in Sanskritam than U. And these three together, these three are the three primary colors as we see in painting: red, green, and blue. Similarly, of all the vowels, these three are the primary ones. A, E, and U. And why is in that order? That's because A is most popular, E then, and then U. That is the second reason. And the third reason is, if you can remember the Vyavastha 2 in the Utpatti Sthana, we went from within to without. Within to without, from the throat to the lips. Therefore, A came from the throat, then it came here, the soft palate. If you remember, in the soft palate, what was the swara here? E. And then we skipped to the lips, which was U. Right? U in the Oshta, lips, U. So it became A, E, Un. And then, we realized that we have left out two other vowels. Which are there? We didn't hit the palate. We went straight from the throat to the back where E was there, and then we came to the lips, to the end. But there were two vowels which we had missed, which are there. So R and L. So he put them in the second line. R and L. And again, why in that order? Because R is more popular than L. L, in fact, actually occurs only at one place in the entire Samskrita literature, in that dhatu klip. Klip is the dhatu, and in its derivatives alone, L exists. And why is R not included in the first line? Because it is not a primary vowel, and it is less common than the first three, and so it comes to the second line. Then, what about A and O? Why is it down? Because if you see the primary, if you add red and blue, you get what? Violet. So that is A. You add A and E, you get A. So that comes in that order. Then you add A to U, you get O. O. You run a separate tape where you have A and E, and you run it at a fast RPM, and you get A. And then similarly with O, you get A and O as the product of A and E, A and U. You get A and O from the first sutra. Then why is I-ouch down? Why is it not put here? That's because, not because of the popularity of I and OU. It is because I and OU actually form a higher class of vowels called the Vriddhi. The Vriddhi means the exponentiation is I and OU, which is formed from A and O, but with an addition of A. So A gets I, O gets OU. So you see the use of everywhere. So that is being used as the primary ingredient, the stable diet. That is why I and au come below. And with au, we end up with all the swaras, and the dirgha, of course, as we have said, are understood by the a, e, u itself. This ends the swara section, which is the ach. In the next video, we shall discuss the second section, which is the hal, and why it is present so. Dhanyavadaha.